Hey guys, it's the Friction here with Tank12. How you call me? I don't really care. Welcome back to World of Tanks, where we are today taking a look at the T95 and why it has the best win rate in the last 30 days on the North American server out of all of the Tier 9 vehicles. What is very fascinating to see is that out of the, 5 vehicles right here that have the best win rate, all of them are tank destroyers or one artillery piece, which is quite interesting. But the T95 tops all of the tank destroyers and non-artillery vehicles, as you can see, with 51.36%. And I think it is pretty damn interesting to see why, and I think you already have an idea. But today we're going to take a look at the T95, and you can see in the last 30 days to the different, the other 30 days prior, its win rate went up by 1.53%, which is a pretty damn crazy uptick. And you can see a lot of players are enjoying this tank. So overall, very good win rate, a lot of players playing it, and the average damage blocked is very high as well. So that's probably one of the key reasons why the T95 has such a high win rate. So let's jump into a T95 and see what it's all about.
Yes, today we're going to be talking about the T95. This is a bad boy I have not taken out in a very long time. Now, as you can see, 236 games played in this bad boy, 49% wins, and not a single mark of excellence, because I played this tank when there was no mark system available. So what makes the T95 such a fascinating vehicle? Well, first and foremost, it's probably one of the few historic vehicles at Tier 9 that were ever produced and that were prototyped and trialed for actual combat. This thing was built, I think it was first called the T28. It's the same T28 we have in the game as well, where they tried to build that with a 105mm gun so that the Americans had a vehicle to breach through the Siegfried line, which is also a map in World Tanks. And they actually built this one, and they had the 4-track version, the T95, also built. So this is a historical vehicle, which is really interesting. It's not just the only historical vehicle that we have in the game, and not the only American Tier 9 vehicle that was actually built. The T30 was actually built as well. I'm not entirely sure if they built the T30 with the 150mm gun that we have right here, but 155, but I remember that the T30 was actually a vehicle that was built. So you already have a vehicle that is of historical importance that players know. And then it also has a very interesting playstyle. You can see survivability on this thing is massively right in your face. This thing, if we just take a look at the armor inspector, we can just see how incredibly well armored this tank is. This is a tank that was supposed to be breaching through the Siegfried line, so you can already expect it to be very heavily armored. Now, having this much armor, 305mm at the front, makes it very difficult to penetrate. And that is why there are 2 cupolas on top, which are both, I would say, fairly easy to pen in comparison to the rest of the hull. And then you also have this lower plate down here, which does have some weak spots where you can go through, especially with premium ammunition. So the T95 is not invincible, but the armor is very reliable if you are in a good position. In close quarter combat, players will usually snipe your cupolas, but if you're a bit smart, you can really bounce a lot of shells. What you have to be much more careful of is that this thing is going to lose its tracks a lot of the time. So one thing I would really recommend when you play this thing is to actually have a large repair kit, because large repair kits do improve your repair time, I think, as well. Wait, let me see real fast. Plus 10% to module repair speed. So as you can see, repairing those tracks, that's going to be a key feature that you have to do. Now, this is a tank that doesn't only come with very good armor. No, it also comes with a very powerful and potent 155mm gun that does some serious damage. Rate of fire on the vehicle is obviously not the best since it's such a large caliber, but 750 damage with a single shot, that is really good. Average penetration of 276 millimeters with the AP round, that is very good as well, even though the shell velocity is not the best. And then you also have rate of fire that I think you can work with, especially if you're using some equipment that will help in that case. Now, gun traverse speed is not going to be the best. Your gun depression angles are only 5 degrees as well. But since this tank is so close to the ground, I think you can work with that. The gun traverse to the left and the right is only 10 or 11 degrees. So you have to turn your tank most of the time to be able to shoot something. And that is why your tracks are so vital to your success. Now, average, like the dispersion values and the aim time on this thing are not the best. But I think you can still work with it. Overall, very good gun, very reliable in my honest opinion. The premium rounds are also not too shabby. Let me check real fast. It should be 320 millimeters of penetration. Mobility-wise, this is probably the biggest catch. Now, such a large tank with so much armor usually means that it's pretty slow. And that's exactly the case. 24 kph with a turbo is actually not too bad. This vehicle used to be way slower. They improved the mobility of this thing, they improved the traverse speed as well, and the specific power to weight ratio. You can see it's not going to be a fast tank, it's not going to be a vehicle that will be able to switch the flanks easily, but it is better at getting around than it has been getting around prior to the buff that we got a couple of years ago. And now the T95 is a very, very reliable choice if you are playing tier 9 tank destroyers with a lot of armor. Yeah, view range wise, it's not the best. The base view range on this thing is somewhere in the levels of, I think 360 meters. That's what you get with a T95. And I think that's fine, you can live with that. But overall, all of these are a combination that allow players, especially newer players or players that are not very skilled, to still do good in a tank. You have a great gun that is able to go through most of the enemies. You have very good armor that is very reliable and will allow you to survive a lot of shots. So if you make some mistakes, you can sit out there and you can take the punishment. And the mobility is not the worst. It's pretty slow, but it kind of means that you also go to a place, you can do some damage, and then you can be a part of a push or a part of a defense. Overall, I think the firepower and the survivability are the key features what make this tank. And, this big breaching ability that you have with the armor that you have just allows you to do a lot of damage. And I think that's the key to the success, why this thing is so well liked. And this is actually a style I bought, and it looks really cool. It's the surfer style, and I think it just makes the T95 pop out even more. So without further ado, having talked about the characteristics, having talked about what makes the T95 a T95, I would say we jump right into some gameplay and see how well it performs when it is out there on the battlefield. Okay guys, only one replay because this gameplay here is probably going to show off all of the nuances that you need to know about when you're playing the T95. It's just basically the ideal matchup, the ideal replay to show you just how incredibly powerful this thing is and why it is at the top of the win percentage out of all of the tier 9 vehicles currently. Except for the artillery piece that is also above it actually on the North American server. Yeah, this thing is incredibly tough. It is such a force of nature when it gets into the right position and when you get that 155mm gun on target. Now I am using premium consumables. I have a very good crew. I also have quite a lot of equipment on here that will improve upon the weaknesses that this thing has, a couple of them. I'm using a gun rammer, which gives me better DPM. I am using a turbo, which allows me to drive faster, and I think that turbo is really a must. It's really nice. As you can see, we have top speeds of 24 kph. That is something you could not have fathomed back in the days when this vehicle was first released. Now, keep in mind, this tank was, when it was released, I think 10 kph fast, or maybe 14. Really, really slow, very sluggish, and there were certain maps where you started in a valley. I remember Pearl River, you had to drive up the hill, and you had to go fight in the city. And I remember one of the games, I played the T95, and it took me 10 minutes all the way to get up to the hill to join the fight while we already lost the game. So yeah, another feature is the great armor. Well, great armor, we just get knocked by the VK, he hits our cupola, the right one, and he goes right through. But it shows us two things, or we gather a little bit of information. First, that was a very good shot. Second, he's using the small 105mm gun, no 120mm gun. That is a very nice thing. On the one hand, he has much better a much better rate of fire. On the other hand, he has worse pen. He's using standard rounds, and that actually is not going to change. So that means our armor is going to be really effective against his 105mm round. Now the second thing you could see right there is we actually hit the Emil 1. That Emil 1, as you can see right there, is in a hull down position. I'm going to show you guys that real fast. He's in a hull down position, and we managed to actually go right through the side of his turret, and that is something you can do with 276mm of penetration. Now what you can see right now is actually we have a Hori 1 who is going to be making a very aggressive play on the left side, and he's calling me for help, so I need to push to allow this Hori 1 to actually get into a good position to do some damage. I actually need to now make a play. The VK misses me, but sadly for me, I think the other VK, the tier 8, manages to hit me right in the side, and now I'm down to 1,337 HP. Thankfully, the VK does not use premium ammunition and is still using standard rounds, and with his stock gun, well, he's not going to be able to go through my armor. It's going to be a really tough fight for him. Very awkward situation. I fire. He is turning his tank in that moment, and I'm playing from Europe, so my ping and my latency is not going to do the best. I sadly missed the tracks with the first shot, and I bounce off his lower plate because it was angled in a way where I could not penetrate it unless I was using the remote PCR. You can see this VK is really struggling. I have kind of kept my repair kit on cooldown, so I just kind of waited until he was going to track me again, because he was going to try to flank me, so I didn't want to close the distance too quickly. And you can see it's actually paying off. He's tracking me again, but my repair time on this thing is really great, and even the reload time of 15 seconds is not the worst in the world. With so much armor, you can just sit in front of him, and this guy is panicking. He's having a really bad time. He's not having a lot of success with dealing with me, and somehow the second shot on the side armor of the VK bounces. I'm not sure what happened right there. It could have been that I actually shot him while he was turning, so I hit the side armor while it was like really flat to me, in the sense it was like a flat surface where I was looking straight at it, and it wasn't, no, it's not flat, it was like angled, really crazily angled, and I probably just hit him right there. Yeah, sadly, if I would really put on the reticle for the live server, you can always see that my reticle is about 1 or 2 milliseconds off, and sometimes I miss shots that are like really should be on target, but somehow they don't go on target. You can see we went right through the city. Didn't take us a lot of HP. We didn't lose a lot of tanks. I don't think we lost any tank. Actually, we lost a T-44 over there. But yeah, you can see this thing. It's actually not the slowest. The armor is incredibly reliable. Your gun is incredibly potent. We hit like 4 shots, maybe 5. We're now at 3,169 damage, and there's a RHM right around the corner. And you guys know, high explosive shell right through his side. He loses 858 HP and gets teleported back into the garage. And that's what you love to see when you're playing these big-ass tanks with those big-ass caliber guns. Now we're trying to get to the 112. It's a bit awkward now. We're losing quite a few tanks. It's actually on even ground right now, but I'm pretty certain that we're gonna win this tank, win this game, win this tank. We're gonna win this game because we have so much armor. We know where the enemies are, and we know against what kind of opposition we're going up against. Mainly tier 8s, a couple of tier 9s, and none of them really have any armor. And the only one that is going to be really dangerous to us is going to be the Waffenträger of Panzer IV, maybe the Leopard Prototype A, if he does manage to get around us. But as you can see, our team is now pushing in. We're kind of making some little mistakes. Very nice sniping shot on the Type 59, so the accuracy on this thing is not even that bad. And you can see the dispersion values on this thing really great. It doesn't have a turret. The gun is fixed to the hull. You only have like 20 degrees of sway to the left and the right. Yeah, the gun arc is not going to be the best, but in the end you can see this gun just, yeah, it's a great gun. It really works in your favor. Now we already seen that the Waffenträger is taking pop shots at us, and look at that shot. That shot, I have no clue how I hit that. I hit that Waffenträger and I put him down to 1% or 10 HP. And that shot went right through the tracks. The tracks in World of Tanks have never been solid, so you can always shoot through them, just like other objects. And yeah, that Waffenträger is not having a good day. Neither is that Type 59. He gets ammo wrecked, giving us a damage total of 6,206 by this time, and about 2,240 damage bounced. We probably bounced more damage, because the VK also always managed to hit our tracks. I'm not sure if that does count as bounce damage. And right there we secure our top gun, 6,520 damage. That all in about a very short 8 minutes. And I think that really shows you how incredibly powerful this thing is. Now the armor might have been a little bit, might have been shown off a bit too good. In this matchup, we're going up against tier 9 and tier 8 vehicles, so remember that a lot of these tanks don't have the caliber to actually deal with us. If you are going up against tier 10 tanks, also other tank destroyers such as the Panzer IV, the Waffenträger of Panzer IV that we just seen there and we engaged, these vehicles are going to be extremely dangerous towards you with those premium shells, because they are going to be able to actually go through your lower plate right there. But it's still not a guarantee pen to go right through, you know, the plates next to the gun mantlet. The gun mantlet is very thick as well, so this thing is going to be pretty tricky to take out from a distance. But it's not impossible. I've been one-shotted by the FV, the 183, last game, and he actually managed to get me right in the lower plate while I was angling my vehicle and trying to get up on a little ridgeline. And I was like on a slope, very small, like it was a very small slope. I wasn't angled crazily, and he actually managed to pen me. So keep that in mind. Your lower plate is going to be one of your main weak spots, as are the two cupolas on top. But as you can see, you know, people panic whenever they see this thing and you're driving up in their face. They start to panic and they start to make mistakes, and I think that's exactly where this thing absolutely destroys anything that comes in front of it. Now, one of the key problems that you're gonna have as a turretless TD is that people will drive around you. You're gonna get shot in the side, you're gonna get flanked, and that's something you have to kind of always keep in mind. If you know where to go, if you have some support and you know when to push and when to fall back, when to keep your distance, you're gonna have a really good time with this thing. Now, it is a very, very nice tank that allows you to do a lot of different things and to make a lot of mistakes, which you cannot say about certain other vehicles at tier 9. And that is probably one of the main reasons that this is a tank with such good win rate. It has decent, or okay, let me rephrase that. It has great armor. This tank has a balling 155mm gun that doesn't need premium rounds to be effective. You have decent mobility if you do invest a little bit of credits into some equipment pieces. And overall, it's just a very good package. Like, a city map for this tank is great. Open maps, not so much. But then you just have to kind of pick your battles. You got to see where you want to drive, and you got to look that you do not overextend yourself. But yeah, pretty good tank. No, awesome tank. Let me rephrase that. It's an awesome tank. And the next vehicle we're going to be looking at is the T30, because I thought, you know what, let's take a look at the American vehicles, and then we're going to go over some other tanks. We're probably going to look at the characteristics, some of the stats, because there are some really cool things about those stats, the win rates that we can see. It gives you a little bit of an idea how World of Tanks players perceive the game and vehicles. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next video. Until then, have a nice day.